Restaurant Radio.
Hi, this is Jeff Mauro, the Sandwich King, and you're listening to Flavor HD.
Broadcasting live on affiliates all around the country. Restaurant Radio, Dane, Neal, Hannah Stanley with Flavor HD. And on the line with us now, the newly coronated, well, not so new. You know, he's heading into season 2, but it's a recently coronated and a Chicago guy. We can even go local. It's an Elmwood Park guy on the line with us, the Sandwich King himself. It's Jeff Mauro. Jeff, welcome to the show.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Jeff, I wanted to know, because as I was watching Next Food Network star Your Season, of course, I was wondering, are you a direct descendant of Abe Froman's Sausage King of Chicago?
You know, that's funny. People ask me that all the time, but, we have no Fromans in the family, but one of my best friends is... if it's a restaurant show, you guys would know Greco and Son.
Oh, yeah.
The Italian food distributor. And Lino Greco is one of my best friends. That family is more the Sausage Kings of Chicago, so I wouldn't dare take their title away. I'll take sandwiches, though.
Well, I figured we would need to be Fromanelli or something to have a relation.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Well, before we get into the results of it, which is Sandwich King, I mean, at what point did you know, because I always wonder, and I always think it's so wonderful, those transformational moments when you go from a food professional and a fan of a lot of the stuff that Food Network does to being like right there, and it all happens so fast. They don't waste any time there. At what point did it become real for you, where you said, you know what, a year later from maybe signing up, this has happened. I'm a star on Food Network.
I don't even know if it's really even happened yet, because my life is pretty normal in between shooting the show or going to food festivals or shooting this and doing that. So I mean, I'm still like, I'm here with my son right now. I had to plop him in front of the TV so I could take this call, for 15 minutes. And, I still have like a normal life. So I don't know if it's really sunk in yet, but probably at the wrap of my second season, which was 2 weeks ago. When you step into that, and we shot at a house here, and it's a small house, but there's 40-something people in there all working their butt off to make you look good. And that's when you realize, this is something different, something special and blessed, because never have I had 40 people trying to make me look good. Probably the opposite. Trying to make me look bad.
And to your point, with 40 people doing the production for the second season of Sandwich King, which is coming up very shortly on Food Network, when you are going through Next Food Network Star, they're very hard on you guys to make sure you get it right within those 2 minutes, and you can't waste people's time. And I'm looking at my husband going, no, it's not like that. They do 14 takes and they cut and they edit and they do all kinds of things.
It's so different. I mean, in the spectrum of the competition show, sure, you only have, you have one shot, you have one take, you have 30 seconds, you have 2 minutes. But in actuality, just like you said, I mean, it will take, we pounded out 2 kitchen shows a day. So through the course of 12 to 14 hours, you do 2 episodes in a day. And, an episode is 20-something minutes of television. So you can do the math yourself. But, needless to say, I'm still pretty green at this. And, I've done every performance aspect in my life, stand-up, sketch comedy, acting, theater, bands, dance, everything. And this is the most challenging performance venue.
Well, it certainly is a boot camp for what you've got to be prepared for, too. And I wonder, they put so much on you with everything that you have to do and the time frames and all that kind of stuff and just the pressure. And then what it means, because for everybody there, this is a life-changing experience. But one of the things that they put on you is you kind of have to do a little research. You've got to be great. You've got to be glib. You've got to be good at the food. But you also have to have a show concept that you're committed to, that you can live and breathe and convince them through the season. Were you set on Sandwich King? I know you were right from the beginning, but was there anything that was like, was it like Salad King? Was that second? You just...
Yeah, I wouldn't be 230 pounds if I was a Salad King. No, never. I mean, I knew it going in. I knew it months, years before. I tried out 3 times for the show, so this was my 3rd attempt, and I made it. I think what the difference between my previous attempts were I had a solid point of view going through casting and everything. So that's the number one thing. People have reached out to me and said, what's your advice? I'm looking to try out. And I said, obviously know how to talk and know how to cook, but you need a point of view to carry you through and to, pick up on that momentum and get you to the end. Otherwise, you're just kind of flapping around in the breeze, Well,
you mentioned that you're in Elmwood Park right now, committed to staying here. You haven't moved off to Tahiti or some
yeah, right.
some faraway place. So, yeah.
I'm gonna drive my 2001 Toyota to Tahiti.
Yeah, he can be Coconut
almost.
King then.
Exactly.
They do some of the shows, so many of the shows in studios or on location somewhere, and you have been a tireless ambassador for Chicago and the food of Chicago, and you said that this is the first show filmed entirely here. Was that a hard sell, or were they like, yeah, Jeff, that's you, that works for you, that works for us, or how did that go?
Well, I thought it would take me, I don't know, 5 seasons to develop enough clout to be like, I want to shoot here in my town. I don't want to shoot a studio in New York. And the first season, after the win, there was only 6 episodes, and we shot all the on-location verite stuff in Chicago, which was great. And I knew I can convince them to do that portion here again. But the fact that they kind of approached me, they're like, we want to shoot here. We're scouting houses. We're scouting locations all in Chicago. We want to incorporate your family. And that was the main, I think, catalyst, behind them making that decision, was that they want my wife and son and parents and siblings and cousins, all dropping by the house, having a bite of this, busting my balls here, doing this, running around, causing, and it worked, and it was real. And that couldn't have happened if it was shot at a some sound studio in New York.
Well, some of that has got to be a testament to the clout that you have and the fact that they value you and where you are. But do you think any of it has to do with the fact, if you grew up in Topeka, Kansas, maybe they don't film there, that Chicago is a great food town and is getting a lot of accolades lately?
It's true, and I think it's time. I think the timing was perfect, too, just with all the recent Michelin success we've had. And, over the past 10 years, it's just grown exponentially, the attention that this town receives. And it's necessary. It's been necessary. And I mean, even watching Food Network 3-4 years ago, you're like, there's no presence here. It's all West Coast, East Coast, Elton Films in North Carolina and Giada Films in Malibu. There's just no Middle America presence. And I was like, okay, someone's got to do it. Might as well be me. So, I think it was just perfect timing in a city that is ripe and endless for possibilities.
Well, and what I noticed in first season, and I think you've alluded to doing this again in the second season, you really went out on location and took people to kind of the basics of where you can buy your fish and where you can go to the good meat markets. Did you get any pushback from those locations, or were they thrilled to be represented?
I think for the most part, I was when we shot all those segments, nobody knew who I was for the most part. Maybe we aired 3 to 4 episodes of Food Star. So I knew I won. Nobody else knew I won. So we had to keep it kind of under wraps and try to be as secretive as possible. But yet I'm being followed by a crew, It wasn't that, it was inconspicuous. But some locations were like I went to this place called Butcher and Larder, and he was a little hesitant, as was when we went to Isaacson and Stein. Mm-hmm. The guy at first was very, very hesitant. And one thing I like to do, and I've said this from the time I was a kid where I was a class clown, I was like, I never met a nut I couldn't eventually crack. And I'm like, I'm going to soften him up. I'm going to get him to laugh, smile. And if you go back and look at that episode, it's like one of my favorite segments because he just, once the floodgates open, forget about it. He wouldn't stop talking. So, that's part of the game, but you want them to realize that this is good for their business, and it's going to not only be good, but it's going to be fun. And I'm not like if I chose a location, it means I handpicked it, and I'm very much into it or connected to it. So it's not just, I don't have a team of people being like, go to Isaacson and Stein. That's a place I shop for fish, Hopefully they understand that.
Yeah, and it does open up the option for people where you don't just have to go to your grocery store. There are other places. You just have to learn that they're open to the public and pay attention to where the wholesalers are.
It's so true. You see the loading trucks or the cube vans and stuff in front of these places on Randolph or Lake Street. A lot of people wouldn't even figure to go in there but once you kind of lift the veil, it can be much better for them in the long run and cheaper.
Yes.
When it comes to dining sandwiches, kind of the basic entry level of food, kids love bologna sandwiches, but you've been able to turn them into very exciting entrees and things like that. But you take some basic sandwiches and you show people how to source some of the best ingredients and then make them awesome. Are you going to do simple things like that this year, or are you going to do branch out a little bit and do some crazy difficult stuff?
No, we actually scaled it back a little bit, made everything very accessible, nothing extremely ethnic. There was some push and pull with the fact that I couldn't call it a panzerotti or a calzone. They wanted pizza pockets, so you make it simple I think some of my recipes last season were a little complicated, But I think this season we focus on simplicity and a lot of basics. Meatloaf sandwich. We're doing a meatball sub, but it's the fried meatball sub. If you've ever went to Danny's Deli in Mauro's Park, they do a great, like a smashed meatball pad. It's unbelievable. So we're doing that, and it's like deli favorites, a good roast beef sandwich, a good pastrami Reuben. But we're sourcing out good ingredients. We're visiting some really great spots. So it's a nice hybrid sort. So you get to see the good spots and take it back to the kitchen and learn a little something new.
Well, and those sound like all very classic Midwestern Chicago, pastrami and the meatloaf sandwich that's good to stick to your ribs kind of food for us especially. Is the show going to air still Sunday mornings?
Yes, 10 a.m. Sunday morning, starting February 19th.
Set the DVRs now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You watch the show, then you make what Jeff makes, and that's what you have on Sunday for your lunch or your meal.
Well, I still have the Jardiniere episode is still DVR'd. Oh, I'm like, it's got the special K next to it. We can't delete it.
Is that what does the K stand for?
The K stands for keep.
Oh, okay.
The K stands for keep, or I get really angry. So, because I got to make my own Jardiniere.
It's good. It's a nice, fresh Jardiniere, oily but bright. That's what I like about it.
Well, the show is Sandwich King. The king himself, the royal participant, is Jeff Mauro. Jeff, for people who want to find more information about you, other than just driving up and down the streets of Elmwood Park looking for
I'm always there.
Looking for the Jardiniere.
Jeff.
Where can they go?
Check out my Facebook fan page, the Jeff Mauro fan page. I'm always posting stuff on there. Or follow me on Twitter at Jeff Mauro. So that's it.
See Jeff on Sunday mornings on the Food Network. You can also go to foodnetwork.com to find more information about everything he is doing. The Sandwich King. Jeff, can't thank you enough for being in the show.
No, thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.
Restaurant Radio.